Okay, Heaven is for Real by Todd Burpo with Lynn Vincent. This book I have had it for a while on the shelf, but I'm not one for the near-death experience books or those type of it's supernatural, so to speak, books, because it's really based on the individual's experience, and there's no concrete proof that you can. And I don't know. It just, to me, I feel like it wastes my time in a way. There's no way. I do believe that there's something after this world. I'm a Christian, and this book is definitely geared for that market, for the Christians. I've seen it in Christian bookstores all the time, and someone bought this for me. I normally would never have sought this book out, but this book became more of an interest after I read the book that's in the last book review I did, which is why I immediately went and read this right away, and I read this in a day. I mean, this is like no problem whatsoever to read. And the very first one, the near-death book, the reason why that one I read is because it was a neurosurgeon who was writing, and he knew he was clinically dead. I mean, he's a doctor, and he was someone that didn't really believe in the near-death experiences until he experienced it. So I thought it was really interesting, and his experience, and it didn't really have any examples of Christ in it or anything of those natures. So I decided, well, let me see a Christian-oriented near-death experience and see the differences and compare. And that's kind of the reason why. I just, out of curiosity, really. Sometimes I just read out of curiosity. Other times I read to increase my knowledge. It all depends. So that's why I read this one. And you can check the other book review below. That's the one that led me to this book. So it was interesting, to say the least. But I don't know. I found the other book more compelling. I don't know why. I mean, it was just an opinion. I can't even explain why I feel that way. Maybe because the other author, there is absolutely no agenda whatsoever in the last book. And here, obviously, there's going to be some form of agenda because it's their faith. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am constantly, it's my duty as far as a Christian to spread the faith as well, and anybody who wants to listen or ask questions. So, but it was interesting, to say the least, with certain examples of certain things this kid knew. What happened is Colton, as far as they knew, they didn't know he was going to die. And the author is a pastor, and this is his son, and he was going through all sorts of mishaps up to the point in the crescendo of his son almost dying. And then it was over a course of several years of revelations of this kid mentioning certain things that he couldn't possibly know. And that's really the gist of it. So let's dig in, take a read, and move on to the next book. "Mommy, I have two sisters," Colton said. I put down my pen. Sonia didn't. She kept on working. Colton repeated himself. "Mommy, I have two sisters." Sonia looked up from her paperwork, shook her head slightly. "No, you have your sister Cassie." "Do you mean your cousin Tracy?" "No," Colton clipped off the word adamantly. "I have two sisters. You had a baby die in your tummy, didn't you?" At that moment, time stopped in the Burpo household, and Sonia's eyes grew wide. Just a few seconds before, Colton had been trying unsuccessfully to get his mom to listen to him. Now, even from the kitchen table, I could see that he had her undivided attention. "Who told you I had a baby die in my tummy?" Sonia said, her tone serious. "She did, Mommy. She said she did. She died in your tummy." Then Colton turned and started to walk away. He said what he had to say and was ready to move on. But after the bomb he'd just dropped, Sonia was just getting started. Before her son could get around the couch, Sonia's voice rang out in all the hands-on-deck red alert. "Colton, Todd Burpo, you get back right here now." Colton spun around and caught my eye. His face said, "What did I do?" I knew what my wife had to be feeling. Losing that baby was the most painful event of her life. We had explained it to Cassie. She was older. but we hadn't told Colton, judging the topic a bit beyond a 4-year-old's capacity to understand. From the table, I watched quietly as emotions rioted across Sonia's face. A bit nervously, Colton slunk back around the couch and faced his mom again, this time much more warily. "It's okay, Mommy," he said. "She's okay. God adopted her." Sonia slid off the couch, knelt down in front of Colton so that she could look him into the eye. "Don't you mean Jesus adopted her?" she said. "No, Mommy, his dad did." Sonia turned and looked at me. In this moment, she later told me she was trying to stay calm, but she was overwhelmed. Our baby is a girl, she thought. Sonia focused on Colton, and I could hear the effort it took to steady her voice. "So what did she look like?" "She looked a lot like Cassie," Colton said. "She's just a little bit smaller, and she has dark hair." "Sonia's dark hair?" As I watched, a blend of pain and joy played across my wife's face. "Cassie and Colton have my blonde hair." She had even jokingly complained to me before. "I carry these kids for 9 months, and they both come out looking like you?" Now there was a child who looked like her, a daughter. I saw the first hint of moisture glint in my wife's eye. Now Colton went on without prompting. "In heaven, this little girl ran up to me, and she wouldn't stop hugging me." He said in a tone that clearly indicated he didn't enjoy all this hugging from a girl. "Maybe she was just happy that someone from her family was there," Sonia offered. "Girls hug when we're happy. We hug." Colton didn't seem convinced. Sonia's eyes lit up, and she asked, "What was her name? What was the little girl's name?" Colton seemed to forget about all the yucky girl hugs for a moment. "She doesn't have a name. You guys didn't name her." How did he know that? So, that's pretty much a gist. It's something you can read within a moment's notice. It's not something I normally would read, but because of the last book, that's why I and it just was more interesting than anything else. I don't think I'm going to continue down the near-death experience reading, but it was an interesting read. So we'll move on to the next book.